Welcome to Dublin for the 2018 Party Poker Fitzwilliam Poker Championship. We're here at Ireland's leading gaming venue, the Fitzwilliam Casino and Card Club, for a true extravaganza of poker. This year's festival is going to be the most exciting to date, as we have a truly international field of highly skilled players. Let's find out if this year's winner will be from Ireland or another great poker-playing nation. We have 223 registered players attempting to take home their share of the €90,000 prize pool. Our winner, however, is going to be walking away with €25,000 in cold, hard cash. This year, we have regular poker pros, some recreational players, and some celebrity figures who are here to enjoy the unique nature and excitement of the Fitzwilliam Poker Festival. Day one action was fast and furious, with the field being cut from 223 players down to just 55 qualifiers. Unfortunately, we lost some high-profile players and some well-known members of the club on the very first day. Day two saw the field cut from 55 players down to our 9 finalists, who are about to compete at the final table for the top prize money. The final 22 players were in the money, so a huge big congratulations to all the money winners at this year's festival. Our unlucky 10th place finisher was Louis Schneider, who unfortunately ran kings into aces and just missed out on the TV table. After 3 days of exhilarating poker, we're down to our final table. 9 players will battle it out for the top prize and this prestigious Champions Trophy. Who will hold their nerve and who's going to crumble? Let's get the cards in the air and find out. Let's meet our final 9 players. In seat number 1, we have Stefan Perch from France, whose highest cash earning was here in the Fitzwilliam earlier this year when he took home €5,000 at the end of the month tournament. In seat number 2, we have Alan Tang, who's a regular player here in the Fitzwilliam Casino and Card Club. His favourite player is Daniel Negreanu. In seat number 3, we have Stephen Lyons, whose biggest cash earnings was €7,000 here at the Fitz in the Masters last year. Sheamus Powell is in seat number 4. He's chip leader going into the final table. Sheamus is also no stranger to large tournaments, having won $395,000 at the World Series in 2015. Colm Chan is in seat number 5. Colm is a secondary school teacher from Kildare. His pet peeves are unnecessary talking and slow play. In seat number 6, we have Pablo Villena, a nurse from Spain. His highest cash earnings was here at the Fitz, playing the Cash League last month. In seat number 7, we have Ronan Madden, a quantity surveyor from Galway. Ronan was short stacked going into the final table, so we're hoping Lady Luck is on his side this evening. In seat number 8, we have Nick Chenjing, another regular player here at the Fitz. Nick has just under 2 million in chips going into the final table, making him currently second in chips. In seat number 9, we have Patrick Clark, a professional poker player and previous Irish Open winner. Patrick is one of the favourites to win this evening, so we'll be keeping a very close eye on him.
Cards in the air for this thrilling final table. And I'm also thrilled to be joined by the newest member of the Fitzwilliam Poker Hall of Fame, Parg Parkinson. Congratulations, Parg.
Thanks very much, Jesse. I'll take congratulations for anything these days.
You actually got into the Poker Hall of Fame of the Fitz by merit. You won the Masters Championship in June.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure that one out.
And obviously the winner here will also get enshrined in that Fitzwilliam Hall of Fame. Andy Black, one of the names on that.
Well, the 2 main contenders here would be Patrick Clark, I think, and of course Sheamus Powell, who's a big chip leader. They're the 2 big money winners, the 2 big name pros against the club players. It's the normal dynamic, which is what makes this tournament so exciting.
Yeah, I mean, Paddy Clark has a huge resume. He's an Irish Open winner. And, of course, Sheamus Powell had a huge result at WSOP a couple of years ago. I think second in one of the big events there for almost 400,000.
Yeah, I think it was a 3,000 no-limit hold'em. Oh, my God.
With the raise on the button. And, holy, what a flop set over set, Parg. This hand starting, fireworks straight away.
Oh, this is Paddy Clark, no ha-ha.
No, he is going to be gulping. I would imagine Sheamus Powell can get out of here, but when Stephen has bet this on the button,
This is just a complete trap. There's no way out of this for Patrick Clark.
No, and
He'd be
it's
absolutely loving
86,000 to call. Now he's got 1.2 million back, which Steven nearly covers. And you think he's going to just check raise here? Obviously, he thinks he has the best hand. With this kind of board, Park, you might want to try and get the chips in now. Or do you think actually he's going to try and slow play it and just call here?
Well, there are many ways to skin a cat, as you well know, Jesse. But I think all the money's going to be going in here one way or the other. It's just a question of how Patrick decides to play it from here.
One thing that never happens in this situation, if you're Paddy Clark, you're not considering you might be beat.
No, well, if you're going to come in with that kind of an attitude, you might as well stay in bed. But Patrick is coming off a big win in Barcelona a few months ago. Was one or two Irish players at the final table of the main event there, him and Bucko, who both did us proud.
All in. Raise all in.
Yep, so it was check, raise, re-raise, all in. A shake of the head from Paddy Clark. He sees the absolute worst story possible. He's drawn to one card now, Parg. One lonely 4 in the deck to get out of this one.
And
it shows
if you're a lip-reading expert, I mean, you might know what he thinks of the chances.
Laurels mean nothing in this game. You can have the Irish Open Championships from here to Tipperary, but that don't beat set over set. I think Paddy Clark is left with ashes.
Yeah, like this is a huge pot for Stephen, who's a very popular local club player. But it's a big pot for everybody else at the table, because Patrick Clark would have been a guy they'd have been expecting the fireworks from today. And now he's in huge, huge trouble.
They'll just be counting it up here, but great stuff from Stephen Lyons, a taxi driver in Dublin. And he just played that perfectly, Parg. I mean, nice to flop a set over a set, but he raised small on the button and then just got all the money in on the flop. And I guess he's massive chip leader here now at this final table.
No, I'd say he's probably line second or third. I think Sheamus Powell's got 2.7 million.
I don't know how much Paddy Clark still in this, but he will be the short stack right now in this tournament.
I think he's got about 7 big blinds left.
Oh, jeez.
Raise all in.
Under the gun for Ronan, who's come all in for 285,000. That's about 10 big blinds, I guess, Park. 12 maybe. And all of a sudden, Steven has got plenty of chips to call that. He didn't even call with the king-queen. I have to say I'd have been tempted there. But around to Sheamus on the button. And what would you do with the 2 6s here? Is it a re-raise situation?
It looks like it.
Re-raise. 1.2 million. Hold.
No surprise to see Sheamus being aggressive. That's how they play it in Vegas as well.
Showdown, please.
Not to mention Ireland. He's isolated. Head up now against the ace-jack, and it is Ronan who is on his face, Parg, but looking in good shape to double up here with 2 pair on the flop.
Yeah, I'd like to be on my face like that.
That's exactly what you want to see when you're in with the ace-jack. The black-jack on the flippity flop for a double up.
Wait, 5.
Feel like he can now play a little bit. He's a surveyor, Parg.
That's very interesting.
What does a surveyor do? I mean, I like to survey the dinner table.
I have absolutely no idea. I'm going to tell somebody I'm a surveyor.
A surveyor of opportunity.
And keep big blind.
I'd say if you're looking for surveyors, the greatest surveyors in poker, I mean, names like Donico D or Ben Roberts would come up historically. They were the greatest surveyors of games. They could stand around on the rail for hours surveying a game before finally putting their chips down.
Did a pretty good record at it as well. Oh, here's a chance for Patrick Clark. Queen Jack. That's good enough for his 7 big
Raise
blinds.
all in.
A bit unfortunate. He's run into Alan here, who's got Ace Jack. Alan would be. I've played a little bit of Hold'em with Alan. I called him for 50 quid in the cash game
179.
once before the flop with a pair of jacks, and everybody started laughing at me.
He,
But you can take it, he's pretty tight.
I would guess so. He had to think twice with the ace-jack. But for Paddy Clark, I mean, the Irish rule of 18, if you've got less than 8 big blinds or less, I would say 2 face cards was plenty for
Oh,
him.
yeah.
And
I would say Sheamus would call here. He called the last hand with the 6s.
Raise.
He's not going to mind taking on a
1.1
few
million.
short stacks with a pair of 8s.
he's actually 3-bet a Parg to try and isolate again. Didn't work the last time, but he's going for it again. Not with the 2 6s. This time, 2 steps up with the 2 8s. And he could have a chance about taking 2 guys out here.
Yeah, all the other guys at the table will be rooting for him, that's for sure.
179.
For Alan Tang, a Fitz
You know, every
regular.
time somebody gets knocked out, everybody at the table benefits. They move up another place in the prize money. And for a lot of these guys, apart from Patrick Clark and Sheamus, none of these guys has ever won a 5-figure sum before. So, I mean...
A top 3 spot in this tournament would be pretty much
Oh,
nearly everybody's biggest cash ever.
Yeah, apart from the 2 pros, absolutely.
So it is going to be 3 ways for 5 tickets of fate for Paddy Clark and Alan Tang. Do or die moment here, Parg, up against the 2 8s. And I guess an ace would be the big ticket for Alan. He could nearly triple up.
Patrick wouldn't say no to a queen
He
either.
would not say no to a queen. 8 on the flop! That's absolute disaster. Paddy Clark and Alan basically drawing dead when the first flop came out. The queen on the river.
Queen of the river, that
immaterial.
would have won the pot for Patrick if the 8 hadn't come.
It's, you know.
So Patrick could have tripled up and got back into it. Instead, he's walking.
Patrick, that was extremely unfortunate. You were actually Porrick's favourite player to take home the prize this evening. How does it feel as a professional player to have a result like that?
Yeah, still disappointed at this moment in time. I think I maybe could have got away from it, but I don't know.
And it was the second hand, was
Yeah,
it?
the very second hand. So and he was just after losing the hand before it. So I thought maybe he's a wee bit steaming and he could be a wee bit lighter. And it's a draw-heavy board. It's hard to fold a set at any stage, but especially on the final table.
And a lot of us were actually looking forward. You're quite an aggressive player as it is anyway, so we were looking forward to seeing what you had to offer. So it is.
Yeah, it's cut short, so don't get to see anything tonight.
Well, look, you made it to the final table, so at least you have that.
Yeah. Happy
And
enough.
will we see you again next year?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, always come back to the Fitz.
So, Alan, that was unfortunate to bust out that earlier on in the evening. Can you tell me what happened in the last hand?
Oh yeah, Patrick went all in, I think just under the gun or something like that. And then I was in the middle of it, and the other guy's fold, I just called 179 all in, and Sheamus went all in after he gave it a thought. So after he went all in, I didn't even think, I just went all in. So I only had about half the chips left. So I have ace jack, I just call, and Sheamus show pocket eights. And well, he flopped a set, so I think that's the end of the story then.
Yeah. Well, you had to play it.
I had to play because half my stacks are already out there already, so I just thought, well, I just thought maybe I would be lucky enough to hit the ace, that's it then, but I didn't, so it was unfortunate.
It was, but hopefully we'll see you back next year.
Yes, it will be, yeah, it's a nice tournament, I like it as well then.
We're delighted with how the event has gone so far this year. It's the 3rd year, and in fairness to all the staff in the poker department, they've done a great job yet again. Denise and Adam in particular, they've led the staff right through the last couple of days. Quite a grueling time for them, and I'd like to thank them. They've done a great job. We have pretty much a very wide audience. It's basically people from every walk of life. I think at the final table there's pros, and regular people who hold down day jobs coming in to play, and it's great for us to see, you know, your club member who's here for recreational purposes rubbing shoulders with pros who've played in the World Series or international events. So it's a great opportunity for them.
That's it for part one of the Party Poker Fitzwilliam Poker Championship. Stay with us for more action after the break. Welcome back to the Party Poker Fitzwilliam Poker Championship. Let's get straight back to the action.
29-year-old Colin Chan, one of 7 players left in this tournament. Park, he's a secondary school teacher from Kildare.
Yeah, you'd wonder, are the kids rooting for him to win or to get knocked out? I know when I was in school, which way out of it?
I think his pet peeve is no unnecessary talking at the table.
And at the back of the class.
Under the gun for Nick, who now has a lot of chips to play with after the last hand.
How long do you have till the break? Call. Yeah.
Queen Jack offsuit, he'll come flying in. This tournament, Parg, has got a lot of history. Now, this is the 12th year, I think, of the Fitzwilliam Championship. This is now becoming one of the oldest regular tournaments in Ireland on the schedule.
Call.
Well, that should kill it off.
A lot of these guys part of this good community of poker here.
Oh, I mean, this is a fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the atmosphere around this is brilliant because, I mean, it gives the club players a chance without having to mortgage the house to play big-time poker on TV and against the top Irish pros.
This pot now 4 ways. A limp from Nick started off 4 in. And geez, look at that flop for Pablo. Bottom pair. Not flush draw. In Spain, I think they call that worth driving over a cliff for.
I think in Spain, a lot of things are worth driving over a cliff for.
Pablo has shoved straight all in. Well, you can't really blame him. 341,000, about the size of the pot. Quickly called by Nick with top pair. And top pair is not even a favorite in this hand.
Yeah, Pablo's 52% and Nick is 48%. It's kind of like Brexit time here.
But he still needs help, Parg. Still needs help to stay in. It's got to be a deuce. It's got to be a diamond. It's got to be an ace. That's not it. 2 pair now for Nick. Ay, caramba, Pablo. He's eliminated.
I think he's a nurse in a nursing home in Dublin. I think he might need a little bit of treatment after that.
He smiles still. He knows he did everything right. Great finish. He'll get a payday. And look at that chip count. 3 at the top, 3 at the bottom. Nick stacking. Pablo walking.
Well, he looks a happy man, doesn't he?
I'm here with Pablo, who just finished up in 7th place. Pablo, tell me about the last hand.
Very disappointing. Good flop for me. I have bottom pair and flush draw and 1 over. So the pot is big enough according to my stack. I just go all in. A guy called me with top pair and I miss everything.
It's just one of those things.
Yeah, very disappointing.
Well, you played really well and you made it to the final table, so we'll be seeing you back next year, hopefully.
Oh yeah, winning.
Fantastic.
He's a happy guy right now, I would say, Nick.
Well, in fairness, that's his normal demeanour. I've played quite a lot of Potlamid Omar with him, which is his game of choice in the club, but he's always got a big smile on his face.
And I believe he's in this particular tournament here, Parg, off of Party Poker Satellite.
75,000.
Couple hooks there for the chip leader, Sheamus. It's kind of easy to play poker when you get the jacks all the time. Although they do say jacks are the hardest hand to play in Oldham and Hold'em.
Well, I don't mind giving them a spin every now and again.
Neither does Sheamus. Ronan, though, our quantity surveyor from Galway, has come flying in on the button. And you can't blame him, Park. Queen Jack suited. He's only got about 12 bigs.
Yeah.
But he's in bad shape. Oh, he's not in bad shape anymore. Lady hit the flop for you, son.
Here.
Galway, of course, a real hotbed of poker in Ireland. The Eglinton Club down there has produced
Some
a
of the-
lot
some
of
of the-
champions. Derek Murray, Fintan Gavin, and of course Jude Ainsworth, who won the party poker event in Galway 7 or 8 years ago at the start of the year when we were doing the comedy. I mean, what a tournament that was.
I'll never forget that. Keith McFadden from Galway, of course, at the final table that as well. But Jude
And
really
he hit quads against Mike Sexton.
Right. One of the massive talents in Irish poker that exploded out of the knots and made this game big in this country, I think.
They seem to think it was something to do with the water in Galway. I never drank water in Galway. I drank just about everything else.
That was one of the great tournaments. It used to be around this time as well. I'd say the Fitz has taken over the mantle of this this holiday period, having the big tournament.
It used to be the first week in January.
Yeah.
Great fun. I mean, first week in January, Galway, the party capital of Ireland. Oh my God.
So we've seen a double up from Ron, and now here it looks like Colm is gotten all in from the big blind to the button raise with the king 10 suited, and that's pretty understandable. It's a flip here for Colm's life.
Not anymore.
Not anymore is right. Jez, we're seeing sets all
He could do it
over
a
the
9.
place.
A 9 would give him the straight.
That's about the only thing that would give him anything right
Well,
now.
a 5 would give him a split pot.
He's grasping at straws. And
Well, he did absolutely nothing wrong.
back to class, back of the class column, but he'll have a payday.
So, Colm, that was really unfortunate. It seemed as though you were struggling a little bit for the last half hour or so. Tell me what happened there.
I was just blinding away. Got king 10 suited in the big blind. He shoved on. Well, he opened. I just reshoved. So kind of played itself.
And you were kind of waiting for the 9 for the straight, but
5 for a split, but what can you do?
you played really well, and you're at the final table, so that's a great achievement in itself. So will we see you back next year to
I hope so.
try and
Free
take
tickets.
it? We'll have satellites going.
Perfect.
Well, look, it was great to talk to you, and well done.
Right, thank you. Thanks very much.
So if you've ever wondered what it's like to play the Fitzwilliam main event, we've asked some of our players to share their experiences with us. So let's go and see what they have to say.
The Fitzwilliam Festival has a great mix of local players who are here 6 nights a week, but the buy-in is sufficient to attract some of the big professionals from Ireland. So you get that kind of cool mix of recreational and professional players, going to war, doing battle, and it creates a great atmosphere in the club. Everyone is excited about the tournament, and it's a really special event, I think.
What's fascinating at the moment is the last 3 probably represent a reasonable demographic of the Fitzwilliam club. What you've got is you've got a top pro in Sheamus, you got a Chinese significant gambler in Nick, and you got a taxi driver. So I think that's that's actually about a fair representation of the clientele here.
Well, I didn't last very long in it this year, unfortunately for me. But I mean, it's another good festival by the Fitz. They always get good numbers. They always put on a good show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players left here at the Fitzwilliam Club in Dublin, and one of them is going to win 25,000 euros. Could it be Nick? Perhaps Ronan.
Well, I think the smart money would be on Sheamus. He's the guy with the pedigree. He's won hundreds of thousands of dollars in tournaments. These guys haven't, none of them has won 10,000. But poker's a great leveler. Sometimes being the best player doesn't mean you win.
Sheamus has got the chip lead, and he's facing a raise on the button with the pocket 4s. This is one of the few times, Parg, we've seen him call a raise rather than stick the 3-bet in.
I think that's probably because Nick is behind him with 2.8 million. He doesn't want to walk himself into any trouble there. You'd think at this stage that this tournament would be Sheamus's to lose, so he's got to be extra careful. The burden of favoritism and all of that.
This is one of those pots where nobody's got too much. I mean, Stephen opened it up for the raise. Is he going to follow through with what they call the C-bet? That's what they do in Ireland anyway. They call it automatic in these parts, Parg.
Yeah.
Bet 135.
I'd say that the second bang is considered obligatory if you put the first bang in pre-flop. It's like the cymbal after the drum.
Exactly.
And this is decision time here for Sheamus.
Well, I just toss and let the coin decide. No, seriously, Sheamus has been playing with Stephen for a few days now, so he'll know that it's unlikely that Stephen has a 6, unless he has 2 of them, in which case he'd probably have checked anyway. So
He's just stuck a raise in. That's real. I mean, he's bluffing with the best hand, Park, but that's pretty subtle play.
it certainly is. I mean, he could even get Stephen off an overpair here, because Sheamus is quite entitled to have a 6 here, whereas Stephen really isn't.
This is sometimes these little moves. You win a pot when you could have lost one, and it's impossible to see Stephen continuing here. That's how you go deep. That's how you win a tournament. That's how you overcome the pitfalls of luck. Making the right move at the right time. Me and Sheamus with most of the chips. You can see, I mean, Ronan and Stefan at the bottom of the chip count. Stefan hasn't exactly been moving or grooving the Frenchman, Parg, but he's still in this, apparently.
No, it's very strange to see a Frenchman there without making noise.
I think in French they call this the le cloak.
I think he's in the finance business. I think he's figured out his best chance of making money is hiding over there in the onesies and hoping nobody notices him.
Behind the dealer.
It's not a bad tactic.
I mean, if everyone else keeps going out, you keep moving up the pay ladder. It is
Allez les bleus.
Right, 7
in the big blind here, and it's Ronan on the button. Jack 8 of diamonds. That's enough, right?
I'd imagine Stefan would kind of hoping maybe the dealer forget about him and he doesn't have to put out a blind.
Sure.
Nick making a decision there with the A6. He's come in and flopped 2 pair here.
And a flush draw for Ronan. It could be fireworks here.
I would say.
Sure.
Is that check? Both playing cagey, full house, and Ronan's made his flush. Oh, that's ugly. You can't blame Ronan for checking back.
Or even Ronan.
Ronan the Barbarian.
Raise 265.
Poor Ronan drawing dead. You hit your flush on the turn. It's been checked on the flop.
And it is very deceptive because of the check on the flop. Ronan's not really going to suspect that he's walked into a full house here.
I think in terms of quantity surveying, Ronan will eventually realize he has too much to fold and yet not enough to win.
7.
Story of my life.
Nick's trying to talk the chips in the pot.
Can you win? You get a million.
Is Nick actually slow playing this here, Parg? Yeah. Is this what you would call a
call?
Yeah, his bet got raised and then had a big dwell up before, and he's just called.
I think
just to make Ronan absolutely sure that his flush is good. That looks like a good card for Ronan because it's not a 4th diamond.
Oh, poor Ronan.
So if Ronan can get out of this, he should be in a circus.
I think Nick is doing what the fishermen call getting the hook deeper in.
Okay.
And
he looks like he's got a hook in his mouth.
this is a bit unfortunate for Ronan. There is no way he can fold his flush here. He just wants to see it, but he knows.
House.
that if Nick has what he's representing, and he does, the flush is no good. And you don't see that too often, Park. Bad beat like that.
Well, a flush against the full house after they both checked the flop.
And
they
Nick,
fooled each other nicely.
He's doing true quantity surveying there. He noticed his pockets are empty on the way out the door.
So, Ronan, you just finished up in 5th place, which is an incredible achievement considering there was 223 runners initially in the tournament. You did go up against Nick in the final hand. Did you do that because he seemed to be bluffing quite a bit towards the end?
He did, yeah. Well, we played a few hands against each other, and I was raising my buttons with hands that I should be raising them with, and he kind of thought I was bluffing a bit going into the hand maybe. And so I jack 8 of diamonds, flopped him down ace high with 2 diamonds, and he checked and I checked also because I kind of wanted to just disguise the strength of my hand a bit if I did hit it. And the turn came a diamond, but it also paired the board. So he bet and I raised him. So I had about a pot size bet back, and then the turn came a blank, and he made a small bet and I overshoved, and he called. Obviously, I think Jack high dime flush there is probably too strong of a hand in my position to be folding, you know. So it's cooler. It happens.
But you're happy enough with how everything went overall, I'm guessing. 5th is great.
Yeah, it is. I'm happy because coming into the final table, starting the day I only had 11 big blinds. So if you asked me at the start of the day, 5th, would you take it? I'd say yeah, you know, so happy enough.
Well, thanks a million, and we'll see you again next year.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
That's
definitely.
great. Thanks a million.
Thanks.
That's it for part 2 of the Party Poker Fitzwilliam Poker Championship. Stay with us for more action after the break. Welcome back to the Party Poker Fitzwilliam Poker Championship. Tensions are really running high, so let's get straight back to the action at the final table.
Big money and the trophy still up top. 4 left, and Parg, the pressure. I know you like to call these final tables like tumbler dryers. Cycle up.
Yeah, and I'd say the guy under most pressure at the moment is Stephen. And the reason for that is Stephen is the club player who plays tournaments here several times a week. Sheamus and Nick mainly play cash, pot limit Omaha. They're not all that bothered about it, but for Stephen, this would be huge. It's bigger for him than anybody else, and that makes it harder.
And he's got a huge decision here. He's been dancing, but now Stefan has moved all in from the small blind, the button open, and Stephen looking at 2 6s. This could just be a fold here, Parg.
65.
It's a decision anyway. He could also try and isolate and get Nick out of the way. This is a really tough decision.
Yeah, it's 765,000. You know, if it was 365,000, it's a insta call. It's probably an insta call for Sheamus. But Stefan hasn't been very active, so the
He's
last
worried
thing
about Nick behind him as well.
Yeah, but the last thing you'd be expecting here is Stefan to be as weak as Queen 10.
Stefan showing that you don't need to be too active to get respect. Or in fact, you probably get more respect if you're less active.
Yeah,
in fact,
that's what I was saying, Jesse.
Stephen thinking to himself, hey, Nick, if I had known you were going to fold, I might have just called. Nick couldn't even call the re-raise there. We've seen this. You see this a lot of times, Parg. A guy like Stefan, if he can step up his pace now, he has actually all he needs to win this tournament.
That's all very well in theory, Jesse. He has stepped up the pace, but he's just got the timing wrong.
He ran into the 2 jacks. Nick is not going to lay it down this time.
He's still only a 2-to-1 shot.
You know how I believe it was Dan Harrington who once said, well, if you can't beat him before the flop, you just have to dog him.
It's not like Dan tried all that hard to dog too many people. No. I think that was just an advertising campaign.
Started out well with the 9 on the flop. But he's gone out guns blazing, Parg. I mean, Napoleon had his Waterloo.
And Stefan had his ace-9.
Stefan, you just finished up in 4th place. You were quiet for the best part of the evening, but then you went all in 4 or 5 times in the last 20 minutes or so. Was that deliberate to hang back?
Yes, absolutely. There was a very clear ICM position throughout the tournament because there were lots of very small stacks. And the big stacks understood that and were bullying the small stacks. So if you had a small stack, you had to be reasonably quiet to try and survive and navigate through this. And I had a medium stack, so I was quite of an advantage versus the small stacks. I just had to wait for them to go bust. And I played a few hands. I had like ace-10 3 times in the first hour. And each time I didn't hit, and then someone's trying to bully me, and I had nothing on the flop, and it's quite difficult to respond when you have a medium stack. You've got someone who's got a very large stack and is intent on bullying you because of the ICM position. So I had to play it that way.
Scene set nicely for these final 3 warriors. And Parg, you have to feel like the crowd is behind Steven here. As you said, this would be a huge moment in his poker career. He's up against guys he knows, but probably only spies in the cash games on a Friday evening.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure the club regulars would be behind Stephen. I am. I mean, I think this is fantastic. I mean, we're playing the Fitzwilliam Championship, and we got 3 guys that play here several times a week fighting it out. I mean, it's a victory it's going to be a hometown victory one way or the other. I can't help but hope that Stephen gets a bit lucky here, and because I want to see him crying with the trophy.
Sheamus trying to get a cheap flop there with the old 3-7 suited. Nick said, no way, pay to play, and that hand is over. Went to showdown. Tell you what, these guys are pretty evenly matched stack-wise. Sheamus, of course, slightly ahead of the other 2,
and a long way ahead of Stephen, but apart from that, they're very
well, apart from that,
matched.
they're totally even.
Yeah.
3-handed play, Parg, much different from a ring game. You cannot sit around.
Yeah, this is where you win with the hearts, not with the cards.
And ace is a fairly big card 3 ways.
125.
Biggest card, obviously.
155.
When did you figure that out?
125.
Little raise on the button. And Nick, he's been playing these kind of hands.
Call.
He's a tough guy to play against. You have to make some hands against Nick, don't you?
Yeah, well, like Hold'em is in Nick's game of choice. So if Nick isn't entirely sure what he's doing, how can anybody else get a read on him?
Oh my gosh.
Oh dear, oh dear.
What a setup!
Check.
It's a straight flush draw for Sheamus. It's top pair and a flush draw for Nick. Steven's got the up and down.
There could be carnage here,
Well, they
Jesse.
could all get their money in. They both checked to Sheamus. There's no way he's checking. And what is Nick going to do? Nick might just go all in.
Call.
It's a bit of a conservative line from Nick.
I'll tell you what, calling that 200,000, Parg, it could be the only thing that's keeping this tournament alive. Steven now.
And it's letting Steven in with the open-ender.
Raise all in.
He's gone all in. I love that move. This is not, I would say this unlikely to work out well for him, Parg, but he's decided rather than call, he's going to give the other guys an opportunity to get out of the way.
Yeah, rightly so. Sheamus can have nothing. It's hard to know that Nick has a hand as strong as he has. So good move by Stephen, and you know he's allowed to hit it straight.
Not only that, I would say if Stephen gets, he'd rather be heads up against Sheamus than heads up against Nick. He'd rather be heads up than three-handed, then we'll have more outs. If he can get this pot two ways.
I think he'd rather be one-handed.
He's got a 6-5. He'd rather it be one-handed. There's no way Sheamus is going to fold the ace-5 of diamonds here, Parg. His question right now is, does he move in and risk Nick having something big, right?
Call. Call.
Does he decide to just call?
150.
Come on, guys. Show what you're made of.
There's a case to be made for Nick moving all in here.
I would say so.
with his top pair and the flush draw.
And Parg, I mean, so the dynamics here, of course, so vital. Nick has to be thinking, if I go all in, he could just sit out and try and move up.
Oh my God, he folded.
He folded. That's a pay scale move, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's trying to move up the ladder. He knows that if Sheamus knocks Steven out, Nick gets paid either way. And now he's sitting there looking, and he's knowing. Nick is knowing he could have won the whole thing. Steven's out.
I call, I win.
Yeah.
No call, I doubly call.
Nick could have won the whole tournament there.
Right there and then.
Diamond is about.
What a hand. And look, Steven's done nothing wrong, Park. He's gone out the absolutely perfect way trying to win this tournament.
Yeah, he's put his heart and soul into it. Good luck to him.
Stephen, well done. Second runner-up at this year's festival. I can imagine you're feeling a little bit disappointed at the moment, but you kept in there. You were short stacked for quite a while and you just kept coming back and back. How do you feel?
Disappointed, obviously, but I did try my best. I was very short at one stage. I managed to get it back up to over $1 million, so it's just very difficult having Sheamus on the left-hand side, piling on the pressure constantly, so I'm happy enough to finish third, to be honest.
Well, we all think you did fantastically well. And how did you think about the tournament overall this year?
I thought it was fantastic, great structure, and definitely playing again next year.
Definitely, yeah, for the win.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, and well done.
Thank you.
And now we're down to our final two, competing for the title and the €25,000 in cash. Let's see how the cards fell.
36-year-old Nick. This would be, Parg, if he can overcome Sheamus Powell, his biggest poker cash.
It already is.
Yes. Not only
if you don't mind me saying so.
Oh, look! They've brought the cash on the table. That's 25,000 cool, crisp, rubber-banded bills.
All different colors.
And Nick has made a top pair out of position. What would your strategy be if you're Sheamus Powell here? He's got all the laurels. He knows he's got the experience.
It's pretty simple in that Sheamus is by far the most experienced player. And this isn't a game that Nick plays much anyway, so Sheamus' strategy should be to keep the pot small and to win all the pots where nobody has anything.
What about making the nuts on the turn?
Conversely, Nick should be trying to make the pots as big as possible and get a bit of gamble into it, because that's his best shot. I mean, his best shot is a puncher's chance. If it comes down to settling this on points, Sheamus will win.
And if it comes down to making the nuts on the turn against... Oh, wait! Has he actually... What an incredible fold that was by Nick. He just folded top pair, heads up to Sheamus's bet. That was sublime.
I can't believe that. But this is probably because he's a pot limit Omaha player, and they see more ghosts under the bed than most people. You know, if you used to play in Omaha, you keep thinking nuts and that you're up against bigger hands. So to make the adjustment to hold them is a little tricky.
400,000.
And in terms of going the opposite way, it was Nick calling on the button here, and Sheamus says, let's just pop it up with the jack high. He's making the pots bigger, out of position. Well, that's a nice flop for the jack 10.
Makes a fool out of me, doesn't it?
I think we've seen this quite often, Parg. You know, when you're at a final table and you've been playing aggressive, when you get the heads up, it's really tough to reassess and slow things down.
Yeah, it's like this time last year we had Sean Prendeville and David O'Kelly, where they Sean said afterwards that he made the pots too big, that he should have been chipping away at David O'Kelly. And David O'Kelly said he knew that, so he just changed gear and started bluffing himself.
That's that we just saw. VPIP, voluntary put into pot. Both of these players over 65%. It just shows that the two players left at this final table have been two of the most aggressive, or at least participatory, in this tournament.
That's a great word. I'm betting the French geezers, VPIP or whatever you call it, wasn't all that high.
I'm betting that if Sheamus keeps hitting full houses, straights, and up and down draws, that he is going to have no trouble winning here. Nick is amazingly hanging on.
I don't believe it. This Nick has thrown away a top pair in the flush draw. He's thrown away a pair of aces, and now he's called with queen eights. Queen eight with 2 9s and 2 7s on the board.
I have a 9. Well done.
Certainly his own strategy. Of course, now that was one of only 2 cards that could beat him there, but still. He must be getting a little bit frustrated, Park. Sometimes you just say, I want to see what the guy's got. And
That's why 5K yesterday.
Makes sense. She's very good structure. Very good structure.
Sheamus is liking the
It
way
certainly looks. I mean, like Sheamus was always favoured to win this heads up, but he's also getting the cards.
And I would say if Nick calls here, this would be under the heading of I am frustrated, Parg, and you can't blame him. When your head's up, sometimes you just have to make something happen.
Yeah, normally what happens is you get knocked out. Another flop for Sheamus.
Jeez, he's hitting everything.
Check.
He's falling head first into clover. And if
Nick
Nick
is
tries
going
to
to
make
call with
something
the gut
happen
shot.
here, he could check raise.
250.
Call.
Well, I think Nick thinks that Sheamus has been robbing him blind, so he's making a stand.
Check.
It was kind of a bit of a bluff call. Which is not strongly recommended.
I think it's what
in the textbooks.
What they call sometimes an aggressive call, and unfortunately, even though you call something an aggressive call, it's still just a call.
Exactly.
Well, if Nick wants to encourage himself, Parg, he may only have 25% of the chips in play, but he's still only 2 hands away from victory. The double-double.
Yeah. 2 all. If he wins 2 all-ins in a row, he's the champion.
That's what they call the bing bang. And as you mentioned, Sheamus just wants to grind this out. He's hitting cards. He's hitting flops. He must be feeling like the end is nigh.
Sheamus has got the experience to close this out. Nick has picked up the Jack-8 of hearts, which heads up is quite a nice hand.
And the raise on the button is like ace-10 for Sheamus. He may decide to put the hammer down here, Parg.
Yep.
And to be fair, Nick might take him on.
I think he will. I've seen Federer Holtz do this in the Bahamas a few weeks ago at the party poker event. With exactly this hand, I think. If it's good enough for him, it should be good enough for Nick.
Well, it's only 60-40, and this would put the stacks nearly level. That's a clear flop, Parg. Help for Nick needed. Uh-oh, 10's no good. Nick's going to be out unless he hooks his way out of here. It's over.
Wow, just a kind of spectacular finish.
2 pair, we have a champion in Sheamus Powell. Worthy winner, Parg.
Absolutely, Jesse. Sheamus came in with chip leader and the favourite, the guy with all the experience, but you still have to get the job done.
You got to make the moves. You got to make the raises. You have to hold your nerve. And Sheamus Cahill, a worthy winner of this Party Poker Fitzwilliam Poker Championship.
Nick, thank you for talking to us. You're the first runner-up at this year's main event. How do you feel?
I feel very happy and I'm very enjoy the game.
And is this your first time going heads up against somebody in a big tournament like this on camera?
The first time.
The first time. So you're very lucky.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
And can you tell us a little bit about what happened at the last hand?
Oh yeah, because Sheamus always is professional. You know, I think I can't win him, but I try. I do my best. But anyway, I'm second. I'm very happy.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for talking to us. And you'll be back next year?
Yes.
Definitely. That's great. After 4 long days of play and many ups and downs, we finally have our 2018 main event champion. Here to present the winner's trophy is Paul Howard, the head of marketing at the Fitzwilliam Casino and Card Club.
Sheamus, on behalf of everyone at the Fitz, well done. You played
Thanks
a great
very
game.
much.
Seamus, congratulations, the main event winner 2018. How are you feeling?
Absolutely delighted. Yeah, I'm kind of tired. We've been playing for 3 days, but yeah, no, absolutely delighted. I've been coming to the Fitz here for about 10 or 12 years. Entered a countless number of tournaments, and delighted to finally finish one off.
Take one
first
home.
prize. Yeah.
First place, I know it's going to take home for sure. And we have to ask, what are you going to do with the prize money? €25,000.
Yeah, well, in 2 weeks' time, there's a European Poker Tour on in Prague, and they've 2 Omaha tournaments I'm interested in playing, and I love Omaha, and I'm going to try and try and win one of those.
That's great. And we're going to see you back next year to defend your title.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Well, that's it from all of us here at the 2018 Party Poker Fitzwilliam Poker Championship. Congratulations to our main event winner, Sheamus Powell. From myself, Kate Casson, our commentators, Porrick Parkinson and Jessie May, and all the team here at the Fitzwilliam Casino and Card Club, thank you for watching, and we'll see you all again next year.